are live on YouTube talking about Manchester United's transfer news, the latest transfer news or lack thereof. Sir, how are we doing?
Sir, how we doing? Good to be with the American Red Devil crew on YouTube. Appreciate all of you. We're halfway through the summer transfer window. United came out of the gate swinging 1st of June. They announced the signing of Matheus Cunha, our new number 10, a very exciting player, Premier League proven. And then since then, it's been basically crickets. You know, Diego Leon came in, but he's basically an academy player. And at this point, United, after 15th place, after our rivals continue to strengthen, or at least our previous rivals, our top 6 rivals, whatever you want to call it, Liverpool throwing around transfer records, looking to do it again, perhaps, with Alexander Isak kind of pursuit. Arsenal having a worldly look what could happen if you put in a top class DOF and let them work. Unbelievable stuff there. Chelsea have a super squad. They won the Club World Cup against PSG on the weekend in the States, and United kind of sitting on their hands. Sir Jim Ratcliffe getting way too involved. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about that in a little bit around the Mbeumo transfer. But United making United fans nervous given the lack of progress they made. They're like, oh, we're announcing something, and they announced the third kit today. Who gives a fuck about the third kit? I want transfers. I want outgoings.
I care about the third kit.
I don't care about the third kit. I don't care about the third kit at all. It's not even that nice of a third kit. But, I can understand the angst, sir. I got the agita. I'm worried. And I think people should prepare themselves for a very disappointing window. They can still turn it around. There's 6 weeks left. But I think we should manage our expectations because it's already kind of coming down to earth. And we have none of the outgoings are out. None of the problem children have been moved on. And we know we're in sell to buy period. And even with Mbeumo, who they said we didn't need to sell to buy, that shit is dragged for now 6 weeks. And
well, the price has run up on that one a little bit, and I feel like that has kind of pushed it over. They said they had $100 million net to spend without winning the Europa League, and then obviously Cunha at 62. You do Mbeumo at maybe 40, and obviously they're structured to the Cunha deal. Brentford just being cheeky, pushing the price up, probably not being flexible and structured to Manchester United, so they're playing. And I feel like they retraded us. They said 62.5. Now they want, like, rumors are 70 million. So Brentford, I feel like it is the right call not to pay up to 70 million, sir. How are you feeling on that one?
I mean, at this point, we've wasted so much time, and I think it's negligible. You're within 10, 15% of a player that scored 20 Premier League goals last season, 25 going on 26. I think what he offers this side as a 10 or in his preferred position as a winger, if you abandoned the 3 at the back system because you fire the manager because he fails later in this year, either you decide that we want to pay up or you decide to move on. But the fact is other clubs wouldn't be dragged into this process. It feels very reminiscent of Ed Woodward. This is what he used to do. Like the entire world knew exactly who he wanted, famously going after Jadon Sancho for 2 summers, and they drag it out. It becomes this whole spectacle. And I feel like we're once again in the spectacle territory because either shit or guff the pot. At this point, United just paid up or move on, but we're doing like somewhere in between.
Absolute spectacles at Manchester United or lack thereof. Sir, let's jump in to Manchester United in the news proper. We're talking about all the latest news. And Emi Martinez, this is kind of hitting the line. We got the big update from Ornstein yesterday. Hey, Mbeumo, actually, just kidding, we're not close. We're very far apart on valuation. Now Brentford's holding out for 70 million pounds. Then all of a sudden we're getting smoke from Emilio Martinez, the Argentinian goalkeeper, plays for Aston Villa, World Cup winner. We heard some smoke earlier in the window. I thought this was agent-driven, 40 million out of Villa. He's 32 years old, a little older. What do you think of all of a sudden Mbeumo stalling? Then we get this keeper news. This is off the back of the Onana injury. It would make sense after that injury. We do need a starting goalkeeper or a viable keeper to start the season. It's a tough schedule. How do you feel about Martinez? Do you think this is smoke? Do you think this has got real legs?
I mean, obviously, the American Devils have made their point clear on the importance of backfilling the goalkeeper and finding someone that can either replace Onana full stop or be a true, credible challenger for his number 1 position. We talked about John Victor a little bit. He seemed to fit the bill for the latter in terms of being somebody who compete. Obviously, Emi Martinez is a rip and replace, right? You're not going to bring him in unless he's going to be a starter. It felt like Asian talk. It still kind of feels like smoke. I know the guy who's most recently broke the rumor yesterday is a tier 1 for Argentina, but that doesn't mean it's any less likely to be Asian talk, given that none of our kind of tier 1 sources, the Laurie Whitwells, the Ornsteins of the world, have even touched this. So I like the profile. He's still got some hair on him, but he's a leader. He's not going to be shaky the way Onana is, but 40 million is crazy. He's like worth 20, 25 given his age. But we need that personality in the side. I would be open to it. Also, there is getting some legs in the fact that Garnacho might be an interest of Aston Villa. That would make sense for them. That would be a great signing for them. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Emi Martinez, given the price, given the age, and the profile of the player in the first place?
Michael Williams in the chat. Get your comments in the chat about Emi Martinez. Do you rate him? Do you like this deal? Is 40 too much for a 32-year-old goalkeeper? Michael Williams says, hard to believe this deal isn't tied to some kind of swap or loan deal for one of our players. I don't know. I think we have a card this window. So if we have that 100 million net, and then you have Garnacho, who should be worth 30 or 40 in a swap.
Easy.
Garnacho for Emi Martinez straight up. That's a deal. I don't love it because you're getting an older goalkeeper for one of the young, promising attacking talents in all of Europe, I would say. He's got to be like top 5 from an XG output, and he's doing it at Manchester United. It's really unfortunate that he has some off-the-field issues. So that could be interesting. I like the Nicholas Jackson angle, like swap him for a striker. Nicholas Jackson plus some cash. If you're being honest, Chelsea value him like 100 million or something insane. So that's kind of an interesting component in the transfer window would be the Garnacho swap. But thinking about Emilio Martinez, at this point in the window, like beggars can't be choosers, and we just need something done. And today it came out from Minute Unicom that essentially Garnacho could be of interest to Villa. This could be how we could get Emi Martinez in the door for something cheaper than the 40 million pounds up front that Aston Villa want. I think 40 million for a 32-year-old goalkeeper is a lot. And if you look at the stats compared to Onana, ultimately they're not too different. He has a better conversion on his long goal kick passing, which Onana was very poor at. We saw him kick the ball out of bounds against Arsenal. He is much better when it comes to claiming the ball from crosses. That is, he's like elite at that 90th percentile. But everything else is pretty close. Shot stopping ability aligns with him. He's also kind of struggled for Villa. He was outstanding for Argentina in the World Cup. But like you said, are we going to 40 million? Probably not worth the upgrade. If you're being honest, I'd rather go for a John Victor, a clear number 2 who could challenge Onana. That might be the best angle to go instead of just trying to get Emi Martinez. But I'll take anything at this point. He's got the personality. The jersey will not be heavy on him. I think that matters a lot at United, and that's such like an X factor to even discuss.
No, I think given the lack of money we have to play with in the first place, 40 million for an older goalkeeper in the first place. He's older than Onana. Obviously, he's a step up. He's not going to have the level of kind of yippiness that we've seen from Onana over the last 2 seasons in the Premier League. Martinez is tried and true, but he's still... He's elite because he won the World Cup, but if you look at his stats in the Premier League, it's like he's not one of the top 3 goalkeepers from my perspective. So I would go the John Victor route. The one I want from Villa is Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is a player that I could get behind. He would be great. He would be unbelievable in front of Cunha or God willing Mbumo. He's 28. He's Premier League proven. He fits the bill. He doesn't have the resale value angle, but certainly Emi Martinez does not. So if you could use Garnacho as a way to get Ollie Watkins in, you don't have to move Højlund. He can kind of be an understudy of Ollie Watkins, learn a lot. I'd be all about that. This deal, I don't know. The price, there's some sketchiness around just is he a clear upgrade? He will be probably from a mentality perspective, but like from just a pure stat perspective, he's better in certain areas. Certainly the claiming, Onana's been so poor in that, and it's such a physical league in the box. I have concerns with this one because we have so many needs, that like 40 million for a 32-year-old Emi Martinez concerns me.
Yeah, I like the John Victor.
Yeah, 6 million pounds.
Cheaper buy, higher upside. Emi Martinez, you're getting this smoke from, I think this is all smoke from the agent. The tier 1 out of Argentina would suggest that he wanted to move earlier in the window. Then they're drumming this up. There could be more conversations. There's also another, to get into Mbumo, player fee agreed, not agreed with Villa type of thing, where United are very transparent agreeing with Martinez, then go into the club. I feel like you should agree to the club, then go to the player to kind of speed things up versus dragging him out. But hey, I don't run transfers at Manchester United. Let's get into Mbumo. The latest here. Sir, you want to walk us through this saga? This feels like we're trying to sign Leslie Sneijder again.
Leslie Sneijder, the whole list of players that, we were attached to transfer window after transfer window after transfer window. We made our intentions clear in early June, and now there's a new story every single day, it seems, around the latest on Mbumo. A lot of people not knowing what they're talking about, and just like, oh, they're trying to get him in. They're trying to get him in. We know that the intention for all the transfers was try and get him in before preseason, especially before we head to the United States next Tuesday. The first preseason game is, of course, on Saturday in Stockholm against Leeds United. But we're still hearing this evaluation gap. Ornstein yesterday said there's still a significant valuation gap, or it's considerable, but I think it's in the range of like £5 million. So at this point, it's either, is it 70? Is it 65? We've heard multiple accounts. Maybe they're backpedaling. Maybe they always set this price, but United's reluctant to go on it. The fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's name is being mentioned in these conversations by Jamie Jackson, who has had a mixed record over the last decade with United, is worrisome. Because Jim Ratcliffe, he shouldn't be involved. Why would he be involved in this? Because at the end of the day, he hired people to go and get these signings in. So I still think you could justify a signing at $70 million when Alexander Isaac's being quoted for like £120 million, given his output and his age. But I'm just, at this point, just pay it, move on with your life, and on to the next one. But I think other fans are just like, hey, we don't want to be proven to be a team where we can get taken advantage of. But I'm at this point where we're just wasting fucking time, and we've got so many priorities, and this is a distraction at this point.
Yeah, but I think it was our first bid in the 40s, getting to 50s with add-ons. Then we had a solid second bid, and then I feel like Brentford is retrading us a little bit here. And all is fair in love and war and football. Transfer negotiations, right? So they're being cheeky. I say, let Brentford pound sand. For me, we telegraphed this one so early. It played into Brentford's hand, and Mbumo wants us. We want him. We're trying to wait it out. They're playing hardball. You got to have a second option, right? You need, what was it? Gibbs White just went. He had a buyout clause for less than what we're talking about. Why weren't we in for that? I have to think that you can't, in the transfer window, you have to be flexible because that's how you're going to find value. Manchester United always have laser focus on one player, and we always end up paying over the barrel for him. That's exactly what we're doing here. And I think you don't have to pay up for Mbumo, but you need option B and C, and you have to move off of this probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now we're hearing some rumors about Martinez. We're hearing rumors about Nicholas Jackson. So I feel like maybe United are kind of scrambling because we're deciding, hey, we're not going to pay up and we're going to go elsewhere in the market. But we should have been doing that 2 or 3 weeks ago, or creating smoke to then make Brentford move. I like the player. I rate the player. I love to see him wearing the United kit. But if Brentford won't sell at a reasonable price, what are you going to do? Charlie Ferris says, give us the beard man. I don't know. 70 million pound beard. Is he going to be worth it?
I think the difference between 60 and 70 is negligible over a 5-year contract. For me, I think he is worth it because of the Premier League proven aspect, his age. He's 25. I think, like I said, he could play as a 10, but he is a winger. So if we abandoned the 3 at the back, he would be no problem the 4-2-3-1 under, insert manager that plays the same formation as basically 85% of European football. So I think this is one of those cases where Chelsea got this deal done in a week. Arsenal too. That what probably happens, they probably quoted like 65. We want more than Cunha because he scored more goals than Cunha last season. We got cute. We went low-balled them. We probably pissed them off a little bit. Then they lost their coach. Then they lost their captain. And at this point, it's just like we're making a meal of it. And like you said, we have no alternative option. This feels just like an Ed Woodward deal.
But he's a second 10 that we arguably don't need because you have Bruno Fernandes. You have Ahmad as well. There's plenty of players in United's 11 that could play this role. So that's why I'm fine moving off of it and getting like a Nicholas Jackson in the door. So speaking of Nicholas Jackson, this kind of came out of nowhere. This is why, actually, that's the Romano latest, everything we discussed. Speaking of Nicholas Jackson, this one is interesting. Everything about this I like except for the $100 million price tag that Chelsea...
$100 million? What the fuck?
It's rumored Chelsea wanted $100 million before we were linked to him. And that's why now all of a sudden, per Hearst class, we're talking Manchester United are monitoring the situation of Nicholas Jackson as Ford weighs up his future. He's surplus requirements to Chelsea. You saw João Pedro and Delap at the Club World Cup. Jackson is odd man out. We know that he's going to want to go. Could you get him for a 60? Could you swap Garnacho over there and pay a little bit to get him? The Garnacho swap deal is going to get us, I'd rather have us get Ollie Watkins or Nicholas Jackson as a result of that. Garnacho is sort of that ace in our sleeve that we have to use in the market, and I think Nicholas Jackson could be a real contender. It's going to be him or Ollie Watkins. I'd probably go for Ollie Watkins. How are you feeling about this rumor or this deal?
I mean, I just think we need attackers. I disagree with your last comment about not needing Mbumo because we're pushing out 5 attackers and we need goals. One of the biggest reasons we struggled last year was goals. And I think Jackson, along with Mbumo, would offer goals. So, hey, Chelsea were cheeky with us. I think we could be like, there's no way anyone's paying them 100 million. They're also probably going to try and go for Ekatike. Yeah, like what? Pull a PSG where we gave them Ugarte and then they got a much better player for basically the same amount of money. If we do that, finance their deal. So maybe you could do a loan deal. His output's not bad. I think he scored 10 goals in the EPL last year. His football brief is pretty good. I would take him, but I just think you have to be shrewd. He's not worth 60 million. Or 100 million, I would go the Ollie Watkins route, just given his consistency in the Premier League and the fact that he'd be a mentor for some of the younger attackers, which we need. So I like Nicholas Jackson, but it's like, at what price? At what price, right?
Josh Christensen, the second they say 100 million, we should walk out the door and never
totally.
turn it back. I totally agree. I think Garnacho swap, you could get him because they'd be like, all right, we'll give you 60 million in value. You give us some add-ons plus a little bit of cash. We'll get Nicholas Jackson in the door. Sylvan says Nicholas Jackson for this much. Maybe Chelsea thought they got Michael Jackson. I think that's pretty right. Look, make sure to like the video so that we get this boosted out there. Also subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the American Red Devils channel. Looking at Nicholas Jackson, I thought it made sense to compare him to Ollie Watkins, which I think is the next solid striker, assuming we're not going to get like a Sesko. The issue with Nicholas Jackson comes down to his conversion rate. He has the same exact conversion rate that Højlund has.
Not great.
Ollie Watkins, much higher conversion rate. Both of them have a lot of touches in the box. X assists, non-penalty XG. Ollie Watkins edges him. I feel like Ollie Watkins is more mature, probably has less upside, but United need less risk. I don't like the price for Ollie Watkins at 60 million. If you could swap Garnacho over there, pay 20, that is a good deal for Manchester United. That is a good upgrade. Nicholas Jackson, a lot of concerns given the conversion rate. A young player who can't finish. We already got one of those, and we want to fix him. We want to kind of get Højlund good, sir. But I just don't think we need another striker of the same profile. A young, unproven, nervy in front of net striker. I think Ollie Watkins is the guy.
I mean, I like Ollie Watkins at 60 a lot more than like Emi Martinez at 40. I do, because his output is very good. And if you look at the real stats around Nicholas Jackson, the biggest thing that's shocking is that he has had some of the highest expected XG in the entire league in terms of the chances that are being created for him at Chelsea. It's a great team, and you got Cole Palmer giving you the ball. So he should have had way more goals if you look at just the expected XG over the last 2 seasons. His conversion rate's not been good. So then you come into United side that has struggled to create chances. At least our attackers have certainly struggled to get onto chances, even though we have Bruno Fernandes creating more chances in the league than any other player. So I like Ollie Watkins. He feels safer. I think United might be tempted to go into the whole, we want resale value given the age, right? 29 versus 24. That's a big gap. But I just want a sure thing. And if you get Ollie Watkins and Mbumo, well, we're not getting relegated. I wouldn't think so. You'd have the goals to kind of keep yourself safe for a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that Nicholas Jackson made Chelsea spend 100 million on 2 new strikers, and they know him best, would tell you everything you need to know about this deal and why you shouldn't pay 100 million. But you gotta love how Chelsea they're
making moves, man.
They've spent more money than us. They've been more clever on the PSR front, selling the women's club back to itself, selling hotel properties to subsidiaries. I respect the grift. The Glazers are the wrong American owners. Bowley seems to be selling players for big money to Saudi, wheeling dealing to shell corporations to game PSR, and then they're closing loopholes of all the moves that they're making. And I really feel like Chelsea have, for as much as I hate to say it, have kind of figured it out. And the Club World Cup, making almost 100 million off of that is huge. Charlie Ferris says, Ollie Watkins over Jackson. I'd rather stick with Højlund than bring Jackson in. Totally valid. He's a young, unproven talent. And again, Chelsea knows him, or dishing him and sign more strikers. Nolan Taylor, I can sadly see us swap Garnacho and Jackson. It's going to be one of the deals. And the fact Garnacho wants to go in the EPL, and he said, I will only go to an EPL team, swap is on. The swap is on. I don't know how that affects PSR, though, because we don't get the PSR cash gain, maybe. From an accounting perspective, that is above my skis.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point, which is that like it's open season in football. Like there is no regulatory body. Like City are gonna walk like absolutely. They're not gonna get in trouble for anything with 115 charges. Chelsea playing games like you said around selling the women's team to basically a holding company so they can get the PSR boost. I think Villa did something similar. United need to get shrewd and start playing dirty football. Like this is the nature of the beast now. You got to get your hand in the muck, and we have not been doing any of that shit. Also, like we haven't been pushing any of the kind of revenue streams that you would have thought they would have tapped into by now, i.e., naming right to the stadium, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think you could use Garnacho in a swap deal, but you have to get an attacker. You have to get output. We need goals on this side. Ollie Watkins offers that. Nicholas Jackson has a lot more hair on it. I would take Ollie Watkins all day.
Sylvan, excellent point on Jackson. His conversion rate is poor. Watkins means no resale value, but I still think we should go for him. I totally agree, Sylvan. Bob Johnson, I rate Jackson, especially over DCL. I rate all these players we're talking about over DCL. Niche fan, loved the channel. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for the love. And Michael Williams, it's almost Abramovich 2.0 at Chelsea. And look, they got a lot of heat. Bowley got a lot of heat. Everyone laughing at him. But the accounting engineering and just like, that's why Sir Jim and the way we're currently operating, it's just we're in the mud. Chelsea's nimble. They're making moves. They're pushing PSR boundaries. They're doing these crazy
10-year deals.
10-year deals for amortization hits. They're creative. They're making moves. They're wheeling and dealing. And United are just sitting like we're owned by a 70-year-old old English billionaire who has no clue. And Todd Bowley over there at Chelsea is running circles around United. And it's crazy because they're the playbook and how to get back. Chelsea were down and they got back. That's the playbook. And we need to look at that and maybe do some accounting tricks. Speaking of accounting trips.
Yeah, here's an accounting trick. They had like $2 billion to throw at it, and Sir Jim spent all the money giving it to the Glazers. Had like a quarter.
Well, yeah, that was the Glazers are at fault because they structured the deal that way. But at the end of the day, Sir Jim took it.
He agreed to it, yeah.
Nolan Taylor, I take Vardy over DCL. What do you think? What do you make of that? Jamie Vardy versus Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
I would take Vardy. I take Vardy as just a personality to have around. He couldn't be the only one. You get Ollie Watkins. You could stick with Højlund and Xerxes because we don't have Europe. If you just got Vardy and fucking Højlund, you'd be in trouble. But I would take Vardy because he's a personality. He actually scored a decent number of goals last year, all things considered, given he had a couple injuries and his age. But fuck it, Vardy. We should have signed him years ago. But Salty Vardy would be hilarious as a Manchester United player, and why not? We're desperate. We need goals. We need personality. We need backbone. And I feel like you said, they're not wheeling and dealing in any regards. They just I think Sir Jim is too involved. And I think, maybe we shouldn't have fired our elite director of football at the end of last year. But I think that's all coming to roost right now.
Michael Williams, how realistic is it for Ineos to stick around with this debt hampering everything? Is the idea that Sir Jim slowly seizes the club from the Glazers while simultaneously paying down the debt? Unfortunately, Sir Jim doesn't have the cash. And this is going to be a squeeze. We think how the season goes is going to determine if Ineos is going to try to sell the club, Glazers Ineos. Because if they can't get the cash flow going, they're going to have to sell. If the club needs another $1 billion, another $2 billion, probably $1 billion to rebuild the team, $1 billion for the new stadium ultimately. And then the club could be kicking off tons and tons of cash. Bob Johnson says, if you follow the way the Dodgers have operated under Todd Bowley, this isn't surprising. He did that Ohtani deal where it's like all back end loaded, so he's not making like any money now. We just have to be a little more nimble, and we have to be more creative. And Sir Jim isn't the guy, and I feel like he has his hands all in that pie at United. And let's see how we finish. It's not how you start. We're in the middle of it, but you got to finish strong. I have a feeling United are going to panic and probably be making these moves towards the end of the window. Sir, you want to talk about Jadon Sancho? The sandwich. He's your favorite United player. You want to sell him.
I'm wearing his jersey right now. Not. Jadon Sancho, we've heard a lot of news about what's going on with his potential move to Juventus. We're hearing rumors that they have offered £50 million once they've agreed a salary to Jadon Sancho, which now they have. I think that includes the payout. We don't know quite yet, but that might be pre or post payout, which we've heard is around the £4 million region. So it's either going to be an 11 million deal or a 15 million deal for Jadon Sancho. They have also acquired another winger, I think as of yesterday, but from what rumors we're seeing on the Juventus chain, they do want another one. They do need to bring in Jadon Sancho. So I take it, this will be kind of put in the, the trophy cabinet is one of the worst transfers we've ever done. And at this point, you just need to get one less distraction off the front desk of Wilcox and Vivilli and the rest of the crew, because there's just too many. There's too many spinning plates. They've left themselves too much to do. We talked about it in advance of the summer transfer window, and the fact that we're halfway through and we have none of these players pushed out yet is really concerning, because we're sell to buy, and then the deals we even quote unquote hadn't fucking budgeted for, we can't even get those over the line. So if we can get this would be great. Close the Jadon Sancho book, and he can play video games late into the night in Turin.
Yeah, this would be an ideal deal. 15 million to United, then another probably 5 to Sancho. We net 10. Wages are off the books. That's a win. Then we have to be on to Rashford, Garnacho swap. We got to be creative. We got to make moves. And you can't be having having us pay Rashford's wages to play at Barcelona. We cannot take a deal like that again. We have to play hardball. I'd be more concerned about playing hardball with selling than trying to nickel and dime Brentford for Mbeumo going forward.
100%.
Looking at the Glazer-Ineos combination, I think it's important that we talk about Ineos for a second here. The fact this window has gone sideways, the fact we're hearing Sir Jim's name related to every single signing and player, also the fact Ashworth was fired, which means if Ashworth comes in, he's going to control every deal. He's be given a budget. He's going to run everything. If Sir Jim doesn't want that, that's probably why he was gone, if I'm going to guess. Because Barada and Wilcox seem like yes men. Barada came out at the beginning of the transfer window saying, hey, we got a great plan. We have tons of targets. We're going to execute on that plan, and we haven't done anything yet. That means Sir Jim is probably right in the mix, because Barada's looking like an idiot. Wilcox is kind of left out to dry. And at the end of the day, we thought it would be a good suggestion here to talk about OG Nice and the issues that Ratcliffe has had at that club, because we were warned before he came in that he did a poor job with Nice.
And we're seeing a lot of the same, which is that basically he gets involved too much. At the end of the day, Glazers, they did a little bit of this. There was a point where whoever the main one who took over for his son after dad died was basically just like, I need to sign off on every single transfer. And that slows things down. They don't know that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not a footballing guy. He is a petrogas guy. He's made good money in that regards. But at the end of the day, it's like he is meddled in these deals. And Bowley, I don't think is meddling in the deals. He gives a budget to his DOF team and his front office team, and they go and they execute on it. Same with Arsenal and Kroenke. Like, they've gotten things right over the last 5 years. They put in an elite front office, and they just let them work. And the fact that you heard Sir Jim's name mentioned in the Mbeumo deal, like, oh, we don't get to take advantage over an extra £5 million is a very, very bad sign, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And if he knew what the fuck he's doing, he would just let them run, because they're footballing guys and he has a different domain expertise. So this is worrisome. The more you hear Sir Jim Ratcliffe mentioned in relation to transfers, the more worried you should be.
You should be absolutely.
I'm worried. Are you worried? I'm worried.
I'm just, like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, look how it's going. Let's hear about his term at OG Nice. Sky Sports here.
Eric Ten Hag might not like our next graphic, because we can see that Nice, over those 5 seasons of Ineos being in charge, have got through 7 managers, whether they're caretakers or interims included as well. But 7 men have come into Nice and not really succeeded how Ineos would like them to. And they're managers with good calibre as well. Patrick Vieira, we know how highly rated he was. Obviously a fantastic playing career, but coming into his coaching career, there are big things expected of him. Christophe Gaultier, he'd won the league with Lille the season before joining Nice, and he only lasted 1 season there. Lucien Favre, we know, has been at Borussia Dortmund. Farioli's gone on to have success at Ajax. They're doing well this season under his management. So, yeah, it's been a case of a lot of managers coming in and going, and none of them really hitting the spot.
What's amazing about this list, and when you hear it and they're going through all the different managers at Nice and how it didn't go well, why didn't we let Ashworth choose the manager decision with Sir Jim and Ashworth? That's the one they fell out over. Very concerning.
No, I think this might be a preview into our future. He's already into 2 managers if you don't include the interims. I fear that, the thing I fear the most is another firing of a manager this season, which is just disastrous and is a whole wash. Once again, kills the morale of the youngsters. It's just terrible for the brand. And I don't know if he's got enough time to run at United and go through this many managers in, whatever that is, 6 years. But it's the same. He's making the same mistakes over again. It looks like he's learned nothing from the Nice experiment, which has not been a success, and he's still looking to meddle in business they shouldn't meddle in. He's a board guy. Stay on the board. Let them run. Meet with them monthly. And instead, he's like, "How much are we paying for Mbumo?" It's like, bro, what the fuck do you know? Take a step back. Let your boys work. And who's going to be the manager in the next 12 months? I think it's probably. Does Amarim survive a year? I don't know.
They have to back Amarim to the hilt.
They're not backing him.
In the window, they're not. But so say if they say, hey, financial reasons, if they should come out and tell fans, hey, we're under the gun with PSR. We need you to pay more money for your season ticket to us, basically. And Amarim, we're going to stick with them no matter what. And next year is going to be the summer we can actually make moves. Like, they should say it. And if that's the case, they got to back him 110 the whole season. I don't want to see this like OG Nice quick trigger. Final questions here before we wrap up the stream. You get 2 more transfers in. Who are you taking from Charlie Ferris? Who do you think?
2 more transfers in. Anyone? I'm more like a realistic transfer.
Within 100 million total.
I want Mbumo in. I want that transfer. I think he offers real value to United, regardless of the system we play. I think he's a player, and I would take him all day, especially given how much time we spent there. And then, I'd go 60 on him or 60 whatever, and Ollie Watkins 40. I'm like, we'll punt the goalkeeper. I know Onana's shaky as shit, but at the end of the day, I think if we score goals and our defense has some semblance, I do like our center backs. That's what I would go for. You could also argue not getting Watkins and getting a good goalkeeper, but that's would be my move. What are you thinking, sir?
Michael Williams says, just got to get this note in. Love the PTI setup, by the way. Shout out. Came a long way from the electrical tape holding up the light in the bunker. Yes, we have. That has been fixed.
Is that known? Is that a known quantity?
Yeah, that has been. We went from duct tape holding up a light fixture that almost collapsed on us to now we actually look. We're trying to get better. As far as the transfers, I like what you said. I would have to agree, but you got to get like that Brazilian keeper for $6 million.
$6 million?
If you do that,
I know
you're given. That's a lifeline for Amarim. That's like okay.
That's like aid in heaven.
That's all I need.
Right.
That's all I need at the end of the day. Bob Johnson, who are you bullish on to have a breakout season? I think there's a lot of candidates. No one played really well last year. Like, who is the player you think is going to finally come good this season for Manchester United?
I would love it to be one of the attackers. I'd love for Ahmad to take an even bigger step up and just kind of really start contributing at like an elite top 5, top 10 in the league level. I would love to see Ugarte come good. I'm not sure he will. I don't think he has the versatility to be an elite number 6, but I like his personality and he's a dog. One of the center backs step up in a major way, whether it be Aiden Heaven or fucking Lenny Euro or Dogu have a breakout season. I just want one of the fucking signings we've made in the last 2 years to convert. There's a long list of players that you'd like to see step up, but I could go all day. But, what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be Luke Shaw at left wing back. I really think that we need Luke Shaw to step up. He should be playing wing back for United. He's really good on the left with the 1-2. Imagine him and Cunha there, plus the crossing. If you're really looking at it, like, he could be a huge difference maker in the attack. He starts for England, plays very well for them. There. Why can't he do it at United? Obviously the TikToks and all this stuff and the meat pies. But Luke Shaw in form is an elite player, and we need an elite winger on the left-hand side. Dogu is young. He could get there, but is not the finished article. Niche fan, who should be sacked when we don't get the Mbumo deal over the line? Unfortunately, Sir Jim. But he owns the thing, and he ain't going to get sacked. Nolan Taylor, it's sad to see how Liverpool are possibly getting Isak on top of the summer they have had. Already, given the rest of the top clubs, we're still heckling over $5 million with Brentford. It's unfortunate, and the fact that Liverpool did no business last year, won the title, and then now they're just like signing elite talent and paying for that elite talent. That's a very quality strategy, because it's like the successor to Salah, basically, and getting Isak now, and the way they're leveraging Ekatike. We're going to sign Ekatike. If you don't do the Isak
they're
deal,
doing it great.
They're wheeling and dealing, and they're putting pressure on Newcastle. That's how United should be in the transfer window. And the fact that we got rid of Ashworth, we had the guy. We had the guy who could build this team up again, and Sir Jim sacked him after paying millions for him. Insane.
And our traditional rivals, right? City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. Let's talk about classic historical rivals. They're all like making real. They're not even just spending money; they're spending it shrewdly. Like you said, they're running multiple deals at once. Like the Liverpool one is a great example. Isaac against Ekatike, using those two names to kind of like whittle down a price, whether it was with Frankfurt or with Newcastle. we should be doing that, and we're not doing that. And the Mbumo deal is a great example of that. This is like, I'm serious. It's Woodward 2.0. You have a deal that lasts 2-3 times longer than it needs to. You posture, you don't have any backup option, and then ultimately you just pay the price that they probably quoted in the first week. And we should have just done that, pay the price, move on with your life, and instead we're diddling, and we keep diddling. And the problem is like there's too much to do if you're diddling, and that's where John Victor signs like that. Like, hey, get a deal like that done. $6 million. That's the amount of money we made from the fucking Alanga sell-on fee. You could get that done in a week. He's got a buyout clause. Just get it done. And it's like we're diddling. And the more you diddle, the less time you have to do for the transfers. So that's my biggest concern, is that they're just not moving fast enough.
I think that's great. That's a great point. We're wrapping up our transfer live stream here. We're going to be going live a lot more for this podcast. We're actually going to be doing a live match stream for the first preseason game against Leeds. Make sure to check us out on YouTube. We'll be live there. Also, sign up for our newsletter. We recently launched that this summer. You can go to www.americanreddevils.com/newsletter. You can sign up for it. You get a weekly email to your inbox. It's just the top Manchester United stories. The stories we're talking about here, they're in the newsletter. You broke down the Onana keeper situation, the stats around should we be signing another goalkeeper. Obviously, I think it's very apparent we need somebody. Whether or not Martinez is an upgrade, to be confirmed, sir. So we'll probably be live next week as well, talking about transfers. We'll push that out on our socials. Really appreciate everybody. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to American Red Devils. Let's hope we can get some signings